Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the called public meeting of the Henry County Board of Commissioners for 11:30 a.m. Thursday, June 24th, 2010. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask for an acceptance of the agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Mr. Basler. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Roark. All in favor? Motion carries 3-0. At this time, we're moving on to a resolution awarding a bid for fireworks. Our presenter on that is going to be Mr. Butch Sanders, who is our county manager. That's handout number 1. Before Mr. Sanders begins his presentation, however, I do want to make a brief statement. I currently host a cable TV show on SBN Television, who is owned by Chuck Peterson. We will be considering a contract in regards to Mr. Peterson. Even though I am not a paid employee of that station, it is my wish to recuse myself from this issue to avoid any appearance of any impropriety on my point. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Basler until this issue has been concluded.
Good morning, board members. I have 2 related items on the agenda this morning, both related to the 4th of July events, July 3rd and July 4th events at the Nash Farm Battlefield Park. The first is a resolution awarding a bid to a fireworks contractor, Atlanta Pyrotechnics International Incorporated. We went out for bids, and the low bid, the only bid that was received was from Atlanta Pyrotechnics. It is for the amount of $15,000 for 2 days, both July 3rd and July 4th, of a fireworks exhibit. And this is related to the second item, which will be a contract to underwrite the full cost of the festival. But I would ask for your consideration for the approval of this resolution. And will be a slight change between the second and third clause. I'd like to insert, whereas bids were solicited for the fireworks at the festival, and then just below, now therefore be it resolved that the Henry County Board of Commissioners awards the bid to Atlanta Pyrotechnics International Incorporated.
Tommy, you've looked over all this? We're good. Any board member have any questions? Commissioner Bowman?
LaTanya, in looking at the, and keep in mind it's the first time I've had an opportunity to look at it. In looking at the certificate of insurance, I see liability. Can you tell me if we have workers' comp on the workers that are working with the fireworks?
On our county employees who will be manning the event and working at this event, Commissioner Bowman, they will be covered by our workers' compensation insurance. Independent contractors with whom we have no employer-employee relationship would not be covered under our workers' compensation arrangement.
Could we tidy that up, because we don't need to have a contractor, independent contractor working, and they very well may have it, but if I'm reading this insurance certificate, the only thing that I see is liability insurance, and seems like workers' comp with them when they're working with pyrotechnics and could blow a hand off would not be that they would need that, and I would think they have it, but I don't see it on this insurance certificate.
That's right. I'm not sure if that was part of the bid requirements or not, Commissioner Bowman.
We certainly can add that as a requirement.
Okay. As long as we can add that as a requirement, then I'm fine.
You have it, Madam Clerk? Butch, just out of respect to the citizens who is watching, I think you could explain what the reason behind this was. I think that a lot of citizens knew that we had money involved in this, and this does take some of that away. Am I correct?
That is correct. This has been a several-week process reviewing the event and how it would be held. There were a lot of concerns that in the budget for the event that there was going to be a deficit or a shortfall. And that's where the second item on the agenda comes in, which basically guarantees that any deficit would be covered by a new major sponsor, which would be Signature Broadcasting Network. So basically, we are going to hold an event where sponsorship is covering, we are guaranteed that will cover the full cost.
Guaranteed to cover the full cost. Does any other board member have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to, in regarding to the business sponsorship agreement.
No, this is the fire.
Oh, I'm sorry. What were we doing?
The pyrotechnics.
That was handout number.
No, handout one. Move to
Okay.
approve the resolution awarding the bid for the fireworks to Atlanta Pyrotechnics International.
Second.
All in favor? All right. The next item on the agenda is the business sponsorship agreement.
Correct. This is the sponsorship agreement which will underwrite any deficit that occurs at the festival. Basically, it's Signature Broadcasting Network. It's a contract with Signature Broadcasting Network, which will underwrite what we saw initially as an almost $26,000 deficit in the budget for the program. Once that amount is met, that is the minimum guaranteed, that deficit would be covered by SBN, and over that amount we would receive 50% of the gate proceeds.
Does any board member have any questions? Commissioner Bowman?
It's actually not a question. I think it's in the form of a comment. This is something that having a title sponsor is something that we've talked about several issues for a long time now, and this is the way to do it. This is the way to open up and have these type of venues so that it doesn't ride on the taxpayer. It won't ride on the taxpayer at all. Actually, this is a title sponsor, and it's. I think he's came at the right time, and I really appreciate the gentleman with SBN. I appreciate him doing that and coming to the table to help offer to have this thing, because I know it's important to a lot of people. And on the same token, I feel like that this is a good thing for Henry County. We got a title sponsor, and I feel great about it. Thank you. It's a comment, and I think it's a great job by you guys and by Mr. Peterson stepping up. So.
I think it definitely fills the need that we were looking to fill. It continues the festival, and the good thing is he's interested in carrying it on in the future, where the county would step out of it and we would lease him the property to conduct the festival.
That's exactly the way it ought to be done. And if it goes well this year, and I hope it does, you could have 3 or 4 other major players come in next year and jump on board too. And that would be exactly the way that an event like this should be conducted.
And in the same respect, that it's not just this particular event, but other events. When people see that they can step up and do some things, and it works good for just almost anything that we're putting together. So
what I'm understanding, we're doing this at basically no cost to the taxpayers.
That's correct.
I think that's such a message that we must get out when it comes to, when we've been talking in the recent times of furloughs and a lot of other issues that's going on, not only with our county but the community and our nation, that we can still have this event, and it's being sponsored, that it won't cost us anything. I think that it's not a good message to the community or the employees if we're spending money at this. So if I'm understanding this right, LaTanya, you good with this as well?
Yes, we drafted the agreement. The county manager negotiated the terms, and I think it's a win-win for both sides, the county and the co-sponsor.
Yes, ma'am. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion in regards to the business sponsorship agreement.
move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? As well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, welcome back.
Thank you. Seemed like I was gone forever. You did a great job.
Well, bless your heart.
Before I adjourn the meeting, I do want to make a comment about an issue that has cropped up in the last couple of weeks, and the board feels like that we need to make mention of that. And that is a decision by the Library Board of Trustees to close the library early during the week and also on Saturdays due to budget cuts. just want to let the public know that in this tough, challenging economic time, the board had to make a lot of decisions as far as the budget for this upcoming year, and it was not easy. And we asked all of our departments to come to the table and to cut their budgets at least 15%. And all of the departments stepped up and they did that. Police, fire, DOT, all of our public safety, parks and recreation. We even had some departments that cut their budget more than 15%. Everyone is trying to tighten up their belt and do what they had to do to make it work in these challenging times. We've gotten a lot of emails recently from citizens in the community, in some way indicating that the libraries have been underfunded or overlooked or treated in a manner that was not fair. So I wanted to present some figures today so that the public can get an idea of just how much Henry County Board of Commissioners supports the library. First of all, I want to begin by saying, too, that the library system is managed by a board of trustees. The Henry County Board of Commissioners, the county manager, no one at this level manages the day-to-day operations of the library system. That is done solely by the director of the library and the board of trustees. They handle the day-to-day operations, they determine their budget, they determine operation hours, they hire and fire their own employees, and we serve as a funding source for these operations. When you look back to 1997 and you talk about the budget allocated to the library system with public funds from Henry County, we have increased the budget of the library by 1,000%. And in addition to those budget allocations, Henry County has acquired property using millions of dollars of county taxpayer funds for the purposes of building, furnishing, maintaining, and renovating the 5 physical buildings that are utilized for our public library services. And that has been in excess of $12,700,000. Henry County currently contributes close to $2 million a year to fund the operations of the library system. So we are committed to assuring that we have a strong public library system for our citizens to enjoy. Our facilities are far superior, in my opinion, to many of the surrounding counties. Now, this issue has come up with the hours being closed, hours that are not convenient to the citizens of this county who work outside the county, and the majority are probably stuck in traffic at 6 o'clock on a weekday on I-75. Everybody's familiar with that traffic. And to try to get to the library before 6:30, before it closes, is almost an impossibility. And to not offer Saturday hours is absolutely ludicrous. And I will tell you that this board is not pleased with that at all. And because of that, we have been looking at this current structure of the library board and the legal way that we can address that in order to assure that our library is responding to the needs of our citizens. And we have our county attorney looking into this as well. But it is the goal of this board to assure that our citizens receive the services that they pay for. And so I wanted just to make that statement because I felt like it was important to get accurate information out to our citizens. No, we currently don't have control. We don't make those decisions, but we are going to try to look at the legal way in order to try to affect the changes that need to take place. And our goal has always been, regardless of whatever department it is that's funded by county taxpayer dollars, is that our citizens receive the best and most convenient services that we can possibly provide. And with that being said, if any other board member would like to comment on that, I would certainly welcome that. Mr. Bowman?
Well, one thing that I'd like to bring up, and you touched on it, Madam Chair, and it's I had a pretty long talk with my board member actually today, is that the Board of Commissioners, since in the last 6 years, in 6 years, has contributed nearly $27 million to construct and operate 5 new libraries, and over $1.3 million for books alone. So it's obvious that the Board of Commissioners, the current board and the previous board, boards of commissioners had an interest in having a decent library system because it's been going on for a while. But realizing since in 6 short years, $27 million has been spent for the library to construct the buildings and buy the property and operate, and over $1.3 million in books. I mean, I understand, but I also understand that, as you have spoken very well, I might add, is that everybody has had to make cuts. And, you know, it's not going to be this way always. It's going to turn around. It may take a while. It's obviously taken longer than any of us would like to have seen it take. But it will turn around, and things will get better. And we're going to do the best that we can. I pledge to do the best that I can to get the libraries open in time for the people that come in, up until 8 p.m. And I did have some conversation where I was told that Saturday is according to statistics, is they have the least amount of people on Saturday, and we need to take a look at that certainly. But when I drive by the Stockbridge Library on Saturday, the parking lot's full. I mean, it's full. I don't know, and probably you may get more, but it would just seem like a Saturday when most are off that would be the time to do it. And it's not an easy decision. It's a tough one that we all have to deal with. But I just wanted to bring up, in 6 short years, $27 million. That's a lot of money, and this board and the boards previous to this board had been committed to having a good library system. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other board member?
Well, I would agree with what my two colleagues have said, and also with as far as the hours that are being proposed for starting July 1st, as far as I can tell, if you work an 8 to 5 job, especially if you work an 8 to 5 job in Atlanta, then you have zero chance of using the library. And of course, we could talk about 15 different ways to adjust the hours, and this isn't the forum for that, but obviously the reasoning behind it needs to be addressed. And more importantly, as she said this morning, communicating the facts to the public, we have received a number of emails which have at best could be characterized as not well informed. As the chairman pointed out, that there is a separate body that governs and makes these decisions, and this board is getting all of the blame, and which is simply not the way that the current structure is set up. And it's my feeling that if this board is going to be held accountable for all of these decisions, then it is our duty to look into what our legal authority is as far as making changes where it's possible. And so folks get very passionate about things, especially when it involves their children, which obviously a lot of families use the library, but I want to encourage everybody who does use the library regularly to make sure that you are well acquainted with the procedures and what the library board does and what the Board of Commissioners does, and take into account all of the dollar figures that have been mentioned in the last few minutes before you chastise this board for what another board has done.
Mr. Bassler?
I couldn't agree more. One of the things that we have to keep in mind is it wasn't only the library that was under this kind of economic stress, but when you look at the DOT and the fire department, the police department, our services hadn't changed anything there. Friends, I'll tell you right now that some of the folks who work in our public service, I have talked to many of them, and there's a lot of satisfied workers that we have with the county. I feel like I know there's always room for improvement, but one of the things that we was faced with was more furlough days and taking a 5% reduction in your pay. And I think it's so important that we keep the folks working. But nevertheless, we have maintained our operation of service, and that's one of the things. If with the library wanting to close on Saturdays and shortening their hours up to try to meet this, and I possibly think that there's probably other options that we could have taken, or they could have taken. But I would hate to think that our police department says, well, we can't work on Saturdays, or we're going to take Wednesdays off, and I think that is ludicrous. And that's one thing. We've got to maintain a level of service when it comes to our public safety, as well as what the general public expects from not only the elected officials, but, out of their tax money. So I couldn't agree more with Commissioner Bowman and Commissioner Roark on what they've said. And Madam Chair, I think she's hit it on the nose. And it's a shame when I feel like myself has taken time with the libraries and the folks who run them and my appointee on there to try to make sure that we're good. And it saddens me to folks come to me and tell me what's been said and things like that. I'm just, I don't know. But that's all I've got to say, Madam Chair.
And just on one final thought, I know there had been some issues as far as, or some comment made that the library has had to cut so many staff members. I think the number was 30 from their staff. And I want to stress that a portion of that is cleaning staff. And our sheriff has been very gracious to say that he would look for ways to utilize the inmates at that are currently incarcerated at the Henry County Jail in order to clean county facilities, and this is certainly an option that we can look at for the libraries. Additionally, some of those layoffs were people who were simply there for story time just during the summer. So if you are part of a church group or another community organization and you have members who might like to step up and volunteer to come and read stories to children, that within itself would be something that I think would be of benefit. There was a time when things like this were all volunteer anyway, and I'm not sure where the spirit of volunteerism has gone to the last few years, but if there's someone here who would be interested in possibly stepping up, maybe some teachers that are off for the summer, there are ways that these gaps can be filled. So to say that 30 people lost their job is not really an accurate statement when you look at the amount of time and the payroll that we're talking about. Additionally, the director had the option. She found $60,000 in her budget to hold out for books. She could have very easily have applied that $60,000 to part-time salaries. That is a decision that was made by the director and by the board. So again, there's always two sides to every story, and we felt like it was important to let our citizens know that we are looking for the ways and means in which to assure that the library services are available to our citizens when they have that need, be it evenings and on Saturdays, and we'll continue to work on that until we come to a resolution. If there's no other business to come before this board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by Mr. Basler and a second by Mr. Roark. All in favor? Motion carries 3-0. We stand adjourned.